On the 2nd of February 2012, 20-year-old Shaquille Rush, aka Shaq, was attending a party with his friends in the 600 set's turf. While Shaq wasn't seemingly actively involved in gangbanging, he lived in the neighborhood and was friends with many members of the 600 set, and in a picture allegedly taken on the night of the party, he can be seen with 600 members C-Day and Inky D dropping the 051Y hand sign as a sign of disrespect to that set. Later that night, Shaq would reportedly leave the party together with a woman, and they would walk through an alley on the 5900 block of South Calumet Avenue where Shaq would possibly stop to take a leak. At this point, one or more people would appear from behind them and open fire, hitting Shaq once on the upper back while grazing the girl on the shoulder. Police and medics would then soon arrive to the scene, and Shaq would be transported to the Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he would unfortunately succumb to his injuries. The following day, local news would report on the murder, stating how Shaq had been killed only 3 blocks away from his home on the 6000 block of South Michigan Avenue. But interestingly, Melly was living, or at least had still recently lived, right on the 5900 block of South Calumet Avenue where Shaq was killed. But that certainly wasn't the only thing connecting Melly to this murder, because afterwards, Melly would start a years-long campaign dissing Shaq, often taunting 600 members by mentioning how Shaq had been killed whilst he was taking a leak, and most famously in one incredibly dark clip, describing to a little girl how he's exactly the type of guy who would pull off a murder while someone was peeing.
Boy, back right now. Boy, you ain't getting that. I'll let you know. You know how I play out here. You don't come with that money, shorty. Come up and done missing. You talking? You don't know who I am? You don't know who I am?
I know my daddy.
You scared of the dark?
No.
I'm one of them type of guys that be in the dark waiting for you when you gotta go pee at night. And I just get you, and you don't never come back to your parents again. You hear me? Then your TT ain't gonna be able to save you. Your daddy, he gonna be crying somewhere like, man, she don't got nothing to do with me, just take me.
Still, some people close to the events have denied Melly actually being behind the murder, most notably 600 veteran Tay Capone, who has openly said on his YouTube channel that Melly actually wasn't the killer. Another person often connected to this murder is an 051 member called Kiddo, who has similarly dissed Shaq on many occasions, even tweeting, "Kill Shaq, then forget about Shaq," only a few weeks after the murder, with this actually being a play on Chief Keef lyrics from his 2012 hit song 300. But whether the killer was Melly or someone else, it seems that 600 clearly considered 051 to be responsible, as they would allegedly end up avenging Shaq's death only a few months later in June, when the only 14-year-old Antonio Davis, aka Fathead, who was one of the youngest members of 051 but had been hanging out with them since he was a kid, was walking to a store with his cousin in the Englewood neighborhood. An assailant would spot Fathead from a van before approaching him on foot and shooting him numerous times while standing over him. Nobody has ever been convicted of this murder, and in online spaces it's been a topic of intense debate for years now. But the Chicago police consider the case to be exceptionally cleared and committed by several people, most notably 2 members of the 600 set, Walter Smith, aka S-Dot, and Courtney Ely, aka C-Day, as well as a member of Lil Durk's Lamron set named Marvin Riley, aka OJ, who the police claim to have been the triggerman based on Fathead's cousin's description of the killer. Only a few days after the murder, Melly would once again begin to taunt 600 members, openly bragging how his set had killed Shaq, while claiming that 600 couldn't say they had killed anyone from his set, perhaps referring to OJ being the one who actually killed Fathead. On the other hand, Fathead's brother has seemingly put the blame directly on C-Day, who's also known by the nickname 22 Shots, writing on a tribute post to Fathead how he's 622K or 60022 killer. In any case, the murders of T Streets and Fathead launched a years-long rivalry, which wasn't just limited to tit-for-tat killings between 051 and 600, but would become part of a larger war in the South Side between 051 and their affiliates, and numerous majority black disciple sets affiliated with 600, like O-Block, Front Street, Lamron, and of course THF-46, who had already been at war with 051 for years at this point. 051 would allegedly avenge Fathead's death in November 2012, killing a 19-year-old named Trey Henry, aka Trix, who was affiliated with 600. This was followed in June 2013 with the murder of 19-year-old Robert Allen, known as Lil Rob, or Beto, from the Lamron set. These murders have remained officially unsolved, but 051 has heavily claimed both, with Melly too implying that his set was behind these murders. Although Melly himself isn't often directly connected to these murders in online rumors, regardless of who had done what, 05 weren't done killing, and in September 2013, they would strike again, killing 17-year-old Leonard Anderson, better known as the up-and-coming rapper LA Capone from the 600 set. This was a devastating blow for 600, as LA was considered their most promising rapper, who had become increasingly close with other rappers in the community, like Lil Durk, who at this point had already signed a major deal with Def Jam Records and was rumored to have been in the works of helping LA Capone land a major record deal for himself as well.
He kept telling me that he's supposed to be meeting T.I. flying to Atlanta with Dirk and meeting T.I. and like that. This what he used to be telling me, like before, like around time, meet T.I. He was flying out at this point. Like he went on a couple shows with Dirk.
LA's murder would eventually be solved, leading to the arrests and convictions of two 051 members, Michael Mays, aka 051 Rocco or Rockhead, and Saki Hardy Johnson, aka Lil Mick, as well as a third person named Miko Buchanan. 051 Melly, on the other hand, would once again take part in the dissing, making numerous tweets in the days following LA Capone's murder where he would make fun of him and boasting about all the people that his set had killed to avenge Fathead's death. But interestingly, Melly would often also mention Lil Durk in his tweets, making it seem that he was actually a fan of Durk's music, despite Durk being such close friends with Melly's enemies. But whether he was serious or just trolling at this point, Melly's fixation on Lil Durk would eventually become Lil Durk's worst nightmare. In March 2014, 600 would allegedly get their revenge, as 20-year-old Mark Campbell, better known as Lil Marc from 051, would be brutally gunned down in broad daylight while standing on the bus stop at 51st Street. Only a few days before his murder, Lil Marc had dropped a diss song called No Competition, a remix of Lil Durk's song Competition, dedicated diss track aimed towards the Black Disciple sets like 600, Lil Durk's Lamron, and King Von's O-Block. This song had made Lil Marc the #1 target in the streets, and it wouldn't take long before those who Lil Marc had dissed would be claiming his murder, with particularly D Rose from 600 and King Von from O-Block starting the dissing only hours after Lil Marc's death. But this time also Lil Durk, whose song Lil Marc had remixed just before dying, would decide to take the dissing to a whole new level, actually filming himself at the very bus stop where Lil Marc had been gunned down, telling people that he was in a very famous place, along with the caption 3THFTP, this being a member of the THF46 set who actually made an entire song dissing Lil Marc titled Bus Stop.
Bus stop, man. Hey, this bus stop right here though. This a real famous place. You hear me? This is a real famous place, B. Hey, this bus stop, this is a real famous place, B. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Free my nigga team.
In online theories, this video is often considered to have perhaps been one of the biggest mistakes that Lil Durk has ever made, because while Durk was already a famous rapper, traveling all over the country, making it very hard for his ops to catch him, it seems that 051 Melly, after this video, would make it his mission to show that in the streets of Chicago, he was the one in charge, and that everyone close to Durk that still was in these streets would not be safe. Moreover, Melly had become close with Durk's old friends, as Durk and his OTF crew had a falling out with the rapper King Louie and his Mubu crew in the summer of 2013. This all came out after a fight would erupt between Mubu and OTF, together with Chief Keef's Glow Gang, while they were performing in Iowa. After this scuffle, Melly would become increasingly close with the Mubu crew's most infamous member, Mubu Crump, who DJ Academics would famously nickname the Chirac Scorekeeper due to Crump's deep knowledge about the city's gang law and his propensity to partake in online drama.
And now we're talking about the Chirac Scorekeeper. Now, if you don't know who that is, a lot of people have asked, who is a scorekeeper? Now, the person that's known as a scorekeeper is this individual that's known as Crump. Now, apparently, he's with the shits, he's a savage, but most notably, he's known for retelling hood stories on Twitter, and not only that, awarding victories. Now, he usually tells or keeps track of who the is up, who's down, who's tied, who hit a buzzer beater, who hit a game-winning 3. He's keeping up with. So if you want to know who the got choked, this is the guy to ask.
Crump had previously been very close with Durk and seemingly ready to crash out for him at any moment, but now he was one of Lil Durk's worst enemies, and with Melly's notorious trigger finger and Crump's infamous Twitter fingers working in tandem, things were about to get very dark for Lil Durk.